Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
I'm with Lieutenant General H.S. Panag as well as Lieutenant General D.S. Hooda, both retired Army commanders of the Northern Command, having served at various points of time about a decade apart. General Panag, you were in the Ladakh area from 2007 to 2008. This was your third stint. Two earlier stints from 1988 to 1990 as a colonel commanding the Mechanized Infantry Battalion, as well as from 2000 to 2001 brigade commander in the 14th Corps. And General Hooda, of course, yourself from 2014 to 2016, Army commander in the Northern Command. Both of you know the area really well, which includes the line of actual control where India and China have been facing off for the last 7 months since April. Both of you, gentlemen, welcome to ThePrint.
Thank you. Happy.
So we are, this discussion is being held in the wake of news earlier this week that India and China are discussing a proposal to withdraw their troops from certain parts of the line of actual control where they have been facing off. General Panag, you have written an article in ThePrint which has really set the cat among the pigeons, where you've said that perhaps Indian troops should not withdraw according to the proposals that are in the public domain. So first, your comments and why you've said this.
See, firstly, these reports are speculative, and as you're aware that they are from reliable sources, but which in recent times have been the unofficial briefings by government and military officials.
Right.
However, overall reporting, there's no authenticity about it as to whether they have actually taken place or not, and it's all speculative reporting. But so far, in general, these have sent coming signals from the military and the government. Mm-hmm. Now, basically, the proposal is that in a phased withdrawal, the PLA in north of Pangong Tso withdraws to finger 8.
From finger 4 to finger 8. So just to explain
finger 4 to finger 8.
Yeah. So right now, just to explain a little bit to our viewers, the fingers are these spurs that are jutting out into the Pangong Tso, pieces of land. So because they look like fingers, therefore they're called fingers. And right now, the Chinese troops are at what is called finger 4. Go ahead, sir.
So this is the area in which they have preemptively intruded in the month of May.
Right.
And we have got a post at finger 3, but rather at the base of finger 3 towards finger 2, and we are supposed to withdraw up to this place. That's the Dhansing Thapa post of the ITBP. We are supposed to withdraw up to there. And thereby, there's a buffer zone coming up between finger 3 and finger 8, where no patrolling will be carried out, and obviously no deployment and no infrastructure. So that's part 1.
Okay.
And this is, as per the reports, this is supposed to be done in a phased manner. First, the tanks and will withdraw tanks and mechanized battalions in a single thing, and then there'll be phased withdrawal of troops, 30% per day for 3 days, mm-hmm. And finally, it's sort of there'll be complete disengagement there, and in turn, in south of Pangong Tso, we will pull back from the Kailash range.
Okay. And
so will the Chinese pull back from certain features on the Kailash range, like Blacktop and elsewhere. They will also pull back. Basically, they will disengage on the Kailash range. This is the gist of the agreement. Mm-hmm. My main comment on this is, number one, that there's no mention of Depsang plains. Mm-hmm. There were some reports which said that this Depsang dispute predates the present NDA government or the previous NDA government, and consequently it will be dealt with that later. No, correct. This is not really correct, because while it is a dispute existing since 1957-58, mm-hmm. Chinese had been coming in, going back. They came in 2013. And once again, they came in, and they have actually gone back.
Okay.
And as per what the government has itself been saying, that we have been patrolling up to the patrolling points 10 to 13, which are in this area. 10, 11, 12, 13.
Right.
That is the lower half of the Depsang plain.
So we'll talk about the details a little bit, but your comment on why we should not withdraw from the Kailash range heights, that is something
because we are gaining nothing out of it. The buffer zone that we are creating north of Pangong Tso is on our side. Up to the month of May, as per government's own admission, we were patrolling up to finger 8.
Right.
Now we can't do that. So the entire buffer zone, this thing, and Chinese are where they were in the month of before they intruded.
Right.
Now, as far as Ladakh range is concerned, I do not know why are we withdrawing from there? Because Ladakh range, we are sitting on our side of the LAC.
Okay.
We have not crossed the LAC anywhere. The LAC passes over the crest of the Kailash range.
Sure.
Now, it is like asking the Chinese, you from Sirijap, you go behind another 2 kilometers, something like that. I mean, where they're...
So you are on top of the heights.
Yes.
And you are being asked, meaning the Indian side is being asked to come down those heights.
The reason for this is that we were occupying these heights, fighting took place in these heights in 1962.
Right.
After that, because it is on the crest line and it can always be disputed who's this side, who's that side, and because we didn't want to upset the situation or create a new thing, we never again occupied the Kailash range.
So
the Kailash range was occupied on 29th and 30th August only, but in our own territory. It's like the Chinese concentrating other side of Demchok or anywhere. So I find there's no reason to come back, and we are not gaining anything. Now, if at all China is giving us some if you want to claim victory, what kind of a victory is this? That China has only sort of you can't patrol your area from finger 3 to finger 8. In fact, we have gone back one finger 3 to finger 8.
Right.
And you are losing the dominating position that you have got on the Kailash range.
Okay, General Hooda, can I ask you to respond to this? The Indian troops are on the heights on the Kailash range that they took on the night of 29-30th August, have not taken since the 1962 border conflict. Why are you coming down? What is this Diwali gift that Prime Minister Modi or the Modi government is preparing to give to the nation? What does this mean?
So, Jyoti, I think we should look at it as part of a package deal. From the time the Chinese have come in, what has been India's demand? India's demand has been restoration of status quo ante.
Right.
And restoration of status quo ante means that the Chinese must go back to pre-May positions, and those pre-May positions were behind finger 8. So if they are agreeing that they will go back and, it's a restoration of status quo ante, I think it is a part of what we have been demanding all along. As far as, not patrolling between finger 3 or finger 4 and finger 8 is concerned, technically the Chinese can say we claim territories up to finger 4. And so they are also not patrolling their area. Similarly, we are not patrolling our area up to finger 8. So I think it's equal on both sides, that both sides don't patrol. As General Panag said, we don't know, the details of the proposal, whether this moratorium on patrolling is going to be permanent, is it going to be temporary?
No, but sir, tell
now,
me.
As far as Kailash range is concerned, Jyoti, I would think, the trade-off is worth it in case we are coming to some agreement. And the agreement, I would agree with General Panag, should include the Depsang plains. So it's an our area. We could say that, whenever we want to, we can always occupy it. Somebody would say, the Chinese can preempt you. I think those are issues that we need to be prepared for. So yes, we are losing our domination in certain areas, but the logic that we are applying that, restore status quo ante and go back to positions in May, the Chinese could well ask you to do the same thing, restore status quo ante and go back to positions pre-May. So I think we have to look at it in an overall sense. Are we gaining some advantage? Is this going to lead to some kind of breakthrough, which leads to further sort of talks and dialogue between India and China? Is it a way to resolve this current crisis? Or we want to say, no, we want our tactical positions and therefore, we'll hold on to where we are.
So first, the first thing that strikes me is that both sides are compartmentalizing the issue, right? So General Panag, the question to you, on one side you have the Pangong Tso area. On the northern bank, the Chinese have now, within quotes, agreed to withdraw from finger 4 back to finger 8, which is where which is where India's perception of the line of actual control is. And then you have the Depsang plains. General Hooda's argument is, why not start somewhere where you can build goodwill, and then you can take it piece by piece and then withdraw from the other parts of the of Indian territory?
I don't think General Hooda said that. General Hooda said that it would be worth it if this part of an overall agreement.
No, it may be part
no, it's a second of
overall
guarantees.
Also,
no, it is because there is not even mention of Depsang plains.
There is no mention at all.
Okay,
absolutely.
So secondly, so if we take that there are 3 areas, I'm assuming that the Hot Springs Gogra area is settled because there are no reports about it. Or if it is not settled, there's a minor difference which will get settled as part of the deal.
Okay.
All these 3 places where the conflict is currently taking place, Depsang Plains, north of Pangong Tso, and the Kailash range, should be altogether one package. I'm all for it. In fact, in my view,
right now it's not one package. Right now the focus is on the Pangong.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
See, there's a huge differential between us and China as far as military capabilities are concerned.
Okay.
So far, we have neither shown the political will nor the military will to physically evict the Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In fact, we have been more or less accommodative and not to annoy them, not to ruffle feathers.
But how can you? Can you evict the Chinese? Is that possible?
That's what I said.
No, I'm asking the question. Can you evict the Chinese?
This is a military question. And if you want to escalate and fight a war, yes, you can do it. There are certain possibilities are there. But the government has not shown the political will, nor have we militarily shown anything on the ground. And so consequently, I do not think that we are going to take it back physically. So it has to be done through diplomatic negotiations, right? Which is what we are focusing on. Now, if that be so, the only advantage that we have gained, the leverage that we have gained in the last 7 months is the Kailash range. Though we are on our side, we are sitting on a very dominating position. And if we have also extended the rest of the Kailash range, which runs along the Indus River, then the Rudok area and the Spangur Bowl, becomes very, very vulnerable, almost akin to how vulnerable we are in the DBO sector. So if it is not part of an overall agreement, if it is which will have some legitimacy, the Chinese are known to break all agreements, 93, 96, whatever agreement you sign with them. They can change it anytime at their will because they are the stronger power. They can dictate it to you. And we will have it become fait accompli for us. So unless you support an agreement, only then we should go for it. Just for the sake of going from finger 4 to finger 8, I think it is certainly not worth it, and we must not lose the leverage that we have over whatever little we have over China by holding on to the Kailash range.
General Hooda, can you respond to that?
I would agree. I think General Panag is pointing out, see, there is a great deal of mistrust and suspicion. Whatever protocols, agreements, guided the conduct of soldiers on both sides, those protocols have completely broken down. So I think if there is an overall agreement covering all areas, because Jyoti, Depsang is critical to us. And as General Panag pointed out, to say that this is something that is left over since 2013 is not right. We have been patrolling up to our patrol points even after 2013.
So why do you think the government is saying that?
That you should ask them, Jyoti. But I was there, so I know that we were patrolling those areas even after 2013.
So
yes, there were issues.
You were there from 2014, General Hooda, you were there from 2014 to 2016. Were you patrolling all the way up to the areas in 2016 where the government is saying that these are issues left over from the previous government?
No, we were patrolling, Jyoti, so no doubt about that. yes, there used to be face-offs. As normally happens if patrols come, face to face with each other, you would have that. But it isn't as if we were not patrolling. Patrol points 10 to 13 was being patrolled. So as Jan Panag is saying, we should look at it as part of an ironclad overall agreement. Make sure the provisions that we agree to, the provisions that that are signed off between the two military commanders, make sure our issues are addressed. Our issues are of being able to patrol up to where we were traditionally patrolling, and of course some guarantee that by our vacating heights from the Kailash range, the Chinese are not going to come and start sort of occupying and then dominating those areas. So those details, I think, will have to be sort of worked out. And if we can get that worked out and, I think resolve this crisis diplomatically, I think it will be okay.
So I have two questions to that, and forgive me, I'm not a military person. So if you can explain this also to our general lay viewers, which is that, can you compare this with Siachen? After all, even in Siachen, you're on the heights, and over the last several decades, between India and Pakistan, whenever there have been these talks, the Indian argument is always, or the Indian fear is always, that if you come down the heights, the Pakistanis will take the heights. Now, what's the difference between that and where you are in the Kailash range? Because even the LAC is really a perception, right, General Panag?
Yeah, actually, no matter what kind of an agreement you sign with China, or between any two countries, these kind of agreements, moment a country decides that it's going to become belligerent, it's going to initiate a conflict, nothing ever stops it from breaking the agreement. Right. Nothing ever stops it. After all, so many agreements have been signed in the world all over, and they have been broken. And in China in particular, we got presidents. They have, no matter what you discuss with them today, they change the same thing after 3-4 years. So, and they are the stronger part today. This we have to accept. They are the stronger part. They can do it at will. Tomorrow, if not on the LAC, let's say, supposing hypothetically, we annoy them elsewhere because of Quad actions, because of South China Sea, because of anywhere else diplomatically, and they again decide to humiliate and punish us. What will they do? The first thing they will do is come and occupy Kailash range, because this time they erred, they were caught napping, and we were successful.
But you can climb the heights of the Kailash range, which are on your side of the LAC, can't you?
See, question is, now that we do not know the details, now that they say that in that case we pull back from the Kailash range, yes. How much will you pull back? Will the Kailash range itself become a buffer? Why I'm saying that is, the details are not known, because the LAC passes over the crest line. It's like this. It's like this. Sure. Now when you're on top, there is a certain degree of width of the Kailash range, because they are joining features slightly lower or higher. So who is where? It's very difficult to decide. So when they say you pull back, for us to pull back means we will be down. It's not a question of pulling back. You can't come back a kilometer.
But you can go back up, and that's why the status quo ante is not in your favor.
The point is, we could have done that as well when the Chinese were doing it between finger 4 and finger 8.
Right.
The fact is, we got preempted, we got surprised. And then, China is the stronger power. Are we going to initiate conflict with China in future?
No, but I'm asking, the question is, why can't you go back? If you feel...
No, you can go back. You can go back, but provided they are not there before us.
No.
What will be the reason for us to go back? See, once you have agreed that we'll pull back, we do not know the details of the agreement.
Okay.
Is the agreement going to be that for the moment pull back, you can patrol up to there, or we'll have a buffer zone, or subsequently after so much time you can reoccupy it? No. So we don't know the details as yet. I assume when the newspaper reports say that we will pull back means you will come back from the crest, and pulling back on the dark range means you will be back on the Chushul Bowl down in the valley,
right.
2,000 feet down, right? So And then the Chinese have an equal opportunity. No, if they come and sit on top of the place where we were sitting, then you have the similar disadvantage which they are facing now. So that's the problem.
Yeah, but General Hooda, I don't understand this actually, which is that if you pull back, and right now, like you said, we don't know the details. Does pulling back mean that there will be a buffer zone on the Kailash range, on the heights? But if the Chinese come back on their heights, on their side of the line of actual control, can you go back to the Kailash range where you are today?
Jyoti, I also want to make one point on this, just to sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
See, this time also, when we went and occupied the Kailash range, I asked the legitimate question as to why haven't we gone and occupied Blacktop, which is on the Chinese side, okay? And why haven't we gone and occupied the lower heights, which are on the Chinese side?
Because then you would have crossed the LAC.
Okay, yes, but Chinese have no such compulsion. They did it in Depsang, they did it in north of Pangong Tso. So when they come next time, they will not do what we have done.
That's a good point, General Hooda. Why would you not cross the LAC and put pressure on the Chinese?
Sorry, just say that again, Jyoti.
The question is that the Chinese have intruded into Indian territory. They have aggressed into your country. They are occupying parts of your territory. Why would you not go back? Right now you are on the Kailash range. Why would you not cross the LAC and put pressure and put counter pressure? You didn't want to do that, right?
Yeah, Jyoti, they didn't want to cross the LAC, and the fact is, by occupying the dominating heights on Kailash range, as it is, you are in a much better position. You are able to overlook their garrison. So, going a little more ahead, crossing the LAC, creating that kind of an issue for, I would say, not much tactical advantage, which you already have because you're sitting on the height. So by going further lower down, okay. I mean, you're not really tactically sort of achieving much. So I think that must have played in the minds of, the military the army when they decided that these are A, B, C, D points that we needed to occupy.
Right. So now explain to me, suppose this agreement holds and, in the coming days, we know many more details. Suppose things in the future don't go as well as we hope they will. After all, if you just look at the previous years, 2013, you had the Depsang, incidents or the aggression. Then 2014, again, you had the Chinese entering into the Chushul area. 2017 was the Doklam, of course, that's in Bhutan, but again, Indian and Chinese troops were facing off. And then 2020 again. So if there seems to be some sort of a pattern, what do you think this pattern is? General Hooda?
Yeah, so Jyoti, even if there is an agreement and, both sides decide to disengage and de-escalate, I don't think we are going to get back to, what existed or conditions that existed prior to May. You're going to see a much more militarized LAC. You're going to see greater presence on the LAC. You're going to see absolutely new protocols. You're going to see a great deal of mistrust on both sides. So we are not getting back to status quo as it existed prior to this. And in conditions like this, I think the army will have to be prepared to make sure that they are not surprised like they were surprised in May. I mean, that would really be after all that has happened. I'm sure, policies, equipment, practices are being put in place that we don't, get surprised like this and the Chinese are able to intrude into our area. So you're going to see greater tensions, if I may use that word, along the LAC in the future. We are not getting back to normal.
So to explain to me, General Panag, now let's talk a little bit about the Depsang Plains. The Chinese are on the Depsang Plains. How much territory do you think that they have occupied, and why are we not talking about the Depsang Plains?
See, the very Depsang place is the place that came into limelight. In fact, the very first shots of 1962 were fired in the Depsang Plains, okay. Because that's where the Chinese perceived that our posts were across the 59 claim line, and at that time. So this is the kind of a plateau extension of the Aksai plateau, and China feels that this is the place from where we can launch an offensive into Aksai Chin, or even have better claims. Other day, in an article I had written down that the distance from this place to the Aksai highway is only a 4 hours drive. It's given on Google Maps.
Okay.
If you see Google Maps, you see the time and distance from DBO or the town on the Chinese side, Tiananmen or something, just across DBO, about 10 kilometers. From there to the Aksai highway is just 4 hours or 20 minutes drive like that. So this is and it's a flattish area suitable for mechanized operations. So this is where they feel threatened from. That's one. And secondly, of course, this is now an aside. It's come up much later that the collusives in case the Chinese captured their Depsang planes and go down to Siachen side, they can collude with Pakistan, the Nubra Valley and down. So that is just one part. But what has happened in the Depsang plains is that as we went back and started patrolling after 62, the top half of the Depsang plains, that is opposite the DBO airfield, there somehow we generally accepted the pattern that the 59 and the our LAC coincided, right? Okay. And because before 62 we had our posts another 6-7 kilometers to the east, there also. But somehow in the lower side, it didn't happen. The 59 claim runs almost vertical, come down to area or east of Burse, but so it comes down like this and then goes, there's a sort of a kind of a loop like this. Now in this loop are the patrolling points 10, 11, 12, 13. And right from somewhere about Y Junction to Jivan Nala, and the place from where there's a place called Bottleneck. Now Chinese have actually not deployed in this area. Now that's my assessment. We don't know the ground situation, my assessment. What they have done is that while we did not venture into this area, we did not venture this thing into the patrolling areas, they set up a kind of a surveillance detachment, a small element at the bottleneck. Bottleneck is the place from where the routes go to these various patrolling points. So 10 can be reached from the top, but generally all the routes emanate from here. So they have set up a surveillance detachment, and they have not allowed our patrols to proceed beyond. They warn us. And we have not contested this to avoid any kind of a confrontation. Right?
So, yeah.
This is the situation. They have not physically occupied it. Okay. In fact, if ever push comes to a shove, I think both sides stand a fair chance, equal chance of preemptively moving and securing it, even today. Even today.
Right. So, General Hooda, since you've been there right up to 2016, which is only 4 years ago, and you said you were patrolling and your boys were patrolling these points from PP10 to 13. Now, today, can you patrol these areas? What's the situation?
I think that's what our unofficial sources are saying, is that we are unable to patrol these points. And as General Panag has pointed out, I think the information that is coming out is that the Chinese don't have a permanent presence here. But the minute we emerge from this area of bottleneck, they are able to have surveillance over us, and therefore they send in their troops and block the patrolling.
Okay.
And I think the idea is let's not get involved in any physical scuffles or physically try and push our way through. So that is the manner in which we are being prevented from going to our patrolling points. And that is why I think the army is trying to take, or the government is trying to take the stance that, Depsang is different from a physical occupation that has happened in the north bank of Pangong Tso. But I think the point is, and as General Panag has also pointed out, Depsang is vital for us, and our freedom to patrol up to our patrolling points must be retained by us.
Now, in that case, even if they don't have a permanent camp or an installation, they're in effective control of these areas.
Absolutely. I mean, the point is, if you are not able to patrol up to your perception of the LAC, then obviously, I mean, you can't claim control over those areas because you're not able to go, you're not able to patrol. On the other hand, the Chinese are coming into what we see as our territory, crossing the LAC. And if they're not letting you go, in effect, we are losing control over those areas.
So the question, so I have a couple more questions in this discussion. The first is that, if things don't go so well in the future, could the Chinese also perhaps open up another front, say in Arunachal Pradesh? What happens then to the Ladakh area? General Panag, and to you, General Hooda, as well. But first, General Panag.
See, I do not visualize the situation escalating unless India now becomes the initiator in any manner, either in Ladakh or elsewhere. So I do not think the situation will escalate.
Okay.
Because if the situation had to escalate, 7 months are gone, winters are in, the Chinese would have done it, right? So I think they have achieved their aim. They were able to put us on the defensive. If I would avoid using the word humiliation, they are able to put us on the back foot and on the defensive, that here we are in your area and you cannot do anything about it. We have stopped you from developing your border infrastructure in these areas. And this was as one of the immediate causes of the conflict. Immediate cause. Overall cause, hegemony and all, of course, is always there.
Yeah, that's
immediate cause was our development of infrastructure and making the lateral roads in the areas where hitherto they had not been made. Right? So this they have done, and in the eyes of the world and everywhere, it is seen that India is on the back foot. Okay, so we suffer a loss of face internationally with our neighbors, with everybody. So they are quite happy with this situation, and if they can even now withdraw after imposing on us the cost, okay, and the cost is no final settlement, this is what it is, and you come back down below the class range, they would be quite happy. So I do not visualize an escalation either happening here or elsewhere unless we do something.
General Hooda explained to me these areas in the Depsang plains where you cannot patrol right now from PP10 to PP13. Now the road that we were building, the Darbuk-Shiok road up to the Daulat Beg Goldi, does this pass through this area, which means that can you traverse those roads at all?
Yeah, so the road is Jyoti, further to the west of this area of bottleneck that we're talking. So I don't think there is an immediate sort of impediment to our routine movements. What happens, of course, is that since we are coming, further into our area, then the road becomes closer than where it was from the LAC. Mm-hmm. So in times of conflict or war, it would be that much easier to cut off the road. But as of now, in normal times, in peacetime, the road is not going to get hindered at all, the DSTB road.
So this area where you cannot patrol today, your perception of the LAC and up to these PP points 10 to 13, so effectively this becomes the buffer zone, doesn't it?
It does. Well, I won't even say buffer zone, Jyoti, because it literally the control sort of we are ceding control over these areas. I mean, how do you establish control over a border? Obviously, every inch of it is not occupied physically by soldiers. So the way of showing your claim lines and that this is what our boundary and where it lies is through a system of patrolling. That you will go and you will touch these various patrol points, and by physically going up to there, you are saying this is what our claim lines are. I mean, that's how it works. So this is where our borders are.
Sure.
So if you're not able to go up to what you establish as your claims, in effect, over a period of time, you're ceding control over these areas. This is what, people talk about salami slicing, etc. That slowly, if you're not able to go to where you are, or the Chinese are, coming into your territory, over a period of time, it will become, like a permanent thing. And how much? So that's why the importance. That's why the importance of being able to patrol up to your claim.
And how much territory is this?
Maybe around, I won't hazard a guess, maybe 100, 120 square kilometers. But then I think, trying to give it some area will not be right, because what's the depth, what's the extent. There are many sort of issues involved. So I don't want to really get into details of that.
So last question to you, General Panag. So in a sense, the LAC has moved southwards, or at least the perception of the LAC, or China's perception of the LAC, has moved southwards. Because if you're ceding effective control of some of these parts, then you're looking at a new realignment of the LAC, effectively.
Yeah, that's the Chinese 1959 claim line, which is marked on the Google map, on the Google Earth. So China has come up to the 1959 claim line as far as Depsang Plains is concerned, and it's got effective control over the area. You asked a specific question. This place, bottleneck, is 18 kilometers from our perception of the LAC. North to south, the total distance, it can vary. Since nobody is in physical occupation, it's difficult to say, but it's about anything from 30 to 40 kilometers.
Right.
North to south, and 18 kilometers this way. So close to that. Exact distances, of course, we do not know. One doesn't know. So I would say that the Chinese have come up to the 59 claim line, which incidentally, as per the very first letter when this term was used, is as per sort of Chow and Lai, the line of actual control. The line of actual control. The term came out from there. And for Chinese, it's always been the 59 claim line. Always.
Right. Thank you so much, General Panag and General Hooda, for your time, for explaining this very complicated issue. We've discussed it so often, threadbare perhaps, these last several months, but things change all the time. And this new Diwali proposal, we'll see how this goes. There is going to be yet another round of talks between the Chinese and the Indian side, General Menon, but we'll see how this goes after Diwali and whether this is going to be a Diwali gift for India or not. Thank you again, and you're watching the print debates. Thank you.
Thank you, Jyoti. Pleasure to be
Thank you, Jyoti.
discussing with you.
Right, sir. Bye-bye, sir.
Bye, Dipendra. Good.